Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Be My Guest. And man, do we have a special guest today. I know I say that every week, but this week, if you're watching, if you're listening, be prepared to feel some energy just smack you through whatever you're listening or seeing this on, because our guest today, Christine Trippi, who you probably have seen in other shows, is going to bring so much energy to us, so much positivity. Going to really catch up with her on how she's been working on developing her company, because she decided to branch out on her own right before COVID hit. And yet she is still such an amazingly positive person. And she's someone I met through LinkedIn prior to COVID. And similar to how we were talking with Bianca a couple of weeks ago about her being a support system for me, and hopefully I've been one for her, Christina's absolutely been a big support for me, even prior to COVID, just talking through some job ideas, just checking in, seeing how things are going. She's asked me some questions, so I hope I've been able to be a good support to her. Real quick as well, if you happen to notice that my eyes look swollen, I apologize, because for some reason 15, 20 minutes ago, I started getting an allergic reaction to what? I don't know. But congestion, itchy eyes, leaky eyes. So no, it's not COVID. I've been fine up until about 15 minutes ago. But as us hotel people know, we got to push on, especially because me and Christine have been trying to get this on tape for about 3 weeks now, but she keeps standing me up because she keeps getting jobs, because the economy and travel is coming back. So we are here to celebrate that. Without further ado, Christine Trippi.
Hello. You know what I was thinking while you were introducing me is that maybe your eye is all the energy I'm bringing.
I think it's more that I'm just allergic to the mess my 2-year-old's been making for the last 90 minutes. That's
Okay.
really what I think it
I'm
is.
glad
But
you're not allergic to my energy.
no, never allergic to that. You can hear it, right? I'm upbeat. I'm ready to go just from 2 minutes with you prior, because you just keep bringing that much energy to the conversation. I don't know how you have all that energy, but you do. And I
Yeah,
love it. And I'm ready to hear some more about it. So let's just get right into it. Christine,
love
tell
it.
us who you are, how are you, and how'd you get to the point you are in hospitality?
Oh, goodness. Well, I am Christine Trippi. I am the CFO, the Chief Fun Officer here at the Wise Pineapple. And I've been in hospitality for 33 years. And I know everybody says this, joining your call, your calls that they have is, oh, I'm not that old. I'm 15 years, but I'm really not that old. 33 years, and damn it, I'm that old.
Well, you know what? You have energy of a 20-year-old. So
Exactly. So yeah, 33 years I've been in hospitality. It started as a romance, and the romance is still in bloom. I love it.
well, let me say this. You can see how much energy Christine brings to the table. She's been in hotels or in hospitality for 33 years. I'm 33 years old. And I feel like I am just out of energy, completely drained. And here she comes in having so much passion and so much energy. So I need to step my game up.
That's the first time that's ever happened to me. I might need a moment.
But you got more energy than I do, Christine. Every day, every time we talk, like, oh man, I got to step my game up today. I got to move up a level, because it's a lot going on here, and it's great.
Yeah, something that I do every day. This is a little inside secret. I do a cartwheel every single day, so that I never have to say I used to be able to do a cartwheel. So that is one of my ways to stay young and energized. As I get up, I do my cartwheel, and I make it a
So
great.
what am I gonna do now to say that never can't do it again? I don't know. I got to work on that. Well, maybe I'll work on that with you. But Christine, again, hotels for 33 years. And you worked your way through all the different departments. You were GM of the year, many awards. You had a really nice position with a major hospitality company as kind of a regional, overseeing pretty much, the country being broken into thirds. You were broken into a third for you had that whole segment or that whole region. So how did you get to that point? Tell us about give us a quick background on your hospitality career.
Well, real quickly, I started out at 17 years old as a van driver / laundry girl at the Hampton Inn, and it was my very first experience. And again, I was in the work program in high school. I had no idea that this was going to be the rest of my life, and it became the rest of my life. I immediately fell in love with hospitality. So it started there, and then I am a grit and grinder. I would say my superpower is grit, and I just have the effort and the attitude you need to take this industry to as far as you can take it. And that's all you need in this industry is the right attitude and the right effort, and you can take it as high as you want to. Now, obviously, keep learning, keep growing, go to school, whatever those things are for you. But this industry will offer everyone opportunity if you've got the right attitude and right effort. And that's what I did. I really honed in on my grit and my love for hospitality. I went on to the Crown Plaza and the Hilton and the Sheraton and many, many others. I probably had every role that you can think of, except for engineer. But now I do a lot of engineering. And that's kind of been in a short synopsis. I've worked for almost every hotel brand out there. And except for I've never worked for Hyatt. I've consulted many Hyatts now in the last year, but never worked for Hyatt. But done that from full service to select service to resort properties. I opened up Key Lime Cove Water Resort, which is one of its kind. Got to create the whole brand, which was probably one of the most awesome things I've ever done. So that's where I got here. Then I was general manager at the Courtyard in Waukegan, Illinois. And from there had outstanding results. And like you mentioned, won general manager of the year, took a red zone property to green and in the top 5% of the company.
Which is not easy. If you don't know what that is, it's not a very easy thing to do, especially as fast as Christine was able to do it. So that's a really big accomplishment.
And the real kicker is this wasn't some new property that it was struggling. This was a 30-year-old property that desperately needed a renovation in a very depressed area that was red zone. And we took it to green zone in the top 5% out of 1,000 courtyards in 6 months. That's amazing.
So what did you, let's talk about that. What did you guys change?
And that's what I want to say. It was the whole team that did it. That's why it's so amazing. But I like to tell people I've had award-winning properties at every property I've been at. And it is not because I am smarter than anybody in any room. It is really the culture that I bring to each hotel, that team, and then the team, part of that. And as a team, we win. And really that's where it's at. I'll tell every hotelier that will listen to me that huddle is the number one thing you do every day. It's the most important thing you do every day. That's where you build leaders every single day. And so just in a small soundbite, that's really what makes a winning hotel is your culture and your onboarding and how you live that culture every day. So that's really the key.
I love that. And
I love to tell people, and I say it in my book too, that we don't just serve food, check people in, and clean rooms. We get to change the world every day. And when you can help people have a perspective, a purpose like that, then you don't walk in to punch a clock anymore. You walk in to change the world.
Right.
And that's where it hones in that culture.
And that comes straight from you, right? That comes straight from the top. That comes straight from your passion, your energy. So we're going to talk about the Wise Pineapple in a second. We're going to talk about COVID in a sec. But again, being in the industry for a while, you've seen the 2008 recession. You've seen the travel industry suffer after 9/11. You've seen other downturns prior to that, whatever they may have been. Mm-hmm. So what have been some of the go-to tricks you've been able to use to get through those times mentally?
Well, there's a lot. And, it's funny because you're talking about those times. I remember, this is how old I am, everybody. I remember the early 90s was the first recession I hit as an adult, if you will. And that was early 90s. I was working at the Sheraton Hotel as a convention service manager. And that was at O'Hare Airport. And that was the first time I lost a job. I was laid off because everything got really slow and we hit a recession. And I didn't even know what all that was.
What is this? A recession?
Yeah. And I'll never forget, I had just gotten married. We had just moved into an apartment. I was newly married, this 91. And I'm not a crier. I probably can think of maybe 5 times in my life as an adult that I've cried. And I'm just not a crier. And my husband, who's never seen me emotional, came home and I was in bed and I was sobbing. I don't think I've ever even told this story before, but I was just beside myself because this is not a good thing, but I've always identified my identity's always been through my work because my life is my work, and that's not the way to be, everybody listening. But if I'm being honest, I've always seen my identity through my work, and losing my job it was like losing an appendage. I mean,
Losing
I'm
a part of
so
you.
proud of what the work that I produce, and to lose my job, you just feel, even when it's not your fault, you just feel like it's all about you.
Right.
So I've been there a couple of times in my career, and I know how much it hurts.
So for people that are going through this for the first time, using myself as an example, right? It's the first time we've seen this, and what would you say you've learned from those times in your life?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to try to tell you the story in a super soundbite. The next time that this happened to me was with Key Lime Cove Water Resort, and Key Lime Cove was figuratively like my baby.
Mm.
I would have considered it one of my children. I loved this resort, and I loved everything I got to make it. So when I lost that job, we broke ground in 2007. And that was when the big recession, the massive recession hit, with after 9/11 and everything. And I was the last of the opening directors. I was there for 4 years that made it through. And then they went into bankruptcy, and most all of us lost our jobs. And it devastated me. Devastated me. And again, who was I if I was not the director of fun? Which I don't know if you can see it, but see right up there.
Oh yeah, there it is.
I am still the director of fun.
Love it.
So literally that day that I lost my job, I posted on Facebook, just kind of letting everybody know, this had happened in a very positive way, but I was devastated. Then I got a new job. I became the general manager at the Courtyard Waukegan, and all these wonderful things happened, and life wasn't over. And guess what? I was still the director of fun. Yeah. But the big aha moment I had, and I did a blog on this, I was boarding a United flight, sitting way in the back because I had no status, and I was looking at my Facebook, and I was on my way to see Mr. Marriott at Marriott headquarters because I just won General Manager of the Year. And as I'm looking and scrolling through my memories on Facebook, I have goosebumps telling you this right now, that it was 3 years ago to the day that I lost my job at Key Lime Cove.
Wow.
And it was such oh my God. Because I remember that day thinking my life was over. I would never find another opportunity like this. And 3 years later, to the day, I was on a plane going to meet Mr. freaking Marriott because I won General Manager of the Year.
I mean, that is so important to think of, right? That, because I think a lot of people feel that way, right? I've felt that way to a degree. Mm-hmm. I'm sure people in the industry have felt that way through COVID. And yeah, it feels like the world is collapsing around us. In a way it is, but it's not over, right? This is just going to lead you to your next opportunity that will take you places you may never have thought you would be. I mean, think about it. Mm-hmm. If you had never left that position, if the 2008 recession never happened, you may still to this day be there and never had a chance to win GM of the Year, never had a chance to meet Mr. Marriott, never got your really, really big position within that company, and never started the Wise Pineapple. And your whole life at this point is here because of that.
All of it. And another really side note is that when I took the senior manager of operations at Marriott and I started traveling, up until that point, I'm such a workaholic, which I know is not something to be proud of, but I am. My whole life, I rarely took vacation. I rarely traveled. And that was, I don't know, I want to say it was 5 years ago. So I was about 46, and I'm telling everybody my age.
You don't look a day over 25, so it's fine.
I don't act a day over 25. So I had only been to 7 states my whole life at 45 years old. And through that job, I made it a mission 50 for 50 to hit all 50 states before I turned 50 years old. And I did it. I hit all 50 states. Yes. I'm giving myself a big thumbs up.
Yes. This is what we see. The props are right there.
I know the props.
I just want everybody to know for a second. So me and Christina have had conversations in the past like this, just Zoom calls, just chatting, just catching up. And we're just having one-on-ones. We're not recording. We're not doing anything. We're just talking. And the props still come out. It's great. I love it.
Absolutely. I got to live up to the name, Director of Fun. But so, yeah, so I could name you a million things. And you know what? I have to read this to you right now. This came up on my memories today, or not today, yesterday. Okay, I'm going to read you this quote. It's wild how we outgrow what we once thought we couldn't live without. And then we fall in love with what we didn't even know we wanted. Life keeps leading us down paths we would never travel if it were up to us. Don't be afraid. Have faith. Trust the journey. Goosebumps.
You may be the sixth time you cried today, right after reading that.
I don't really cry, but
so how do you keep an open mind, right? As you're going through this challenge, as you're going through this, the world is ending around me. How do you keep an open mind to stay positive and find that opportunity? Which, I mean, you're in Florida at the in the Keys. You get a job up in Washington, which is as far away as you possibly could get, it feels like. So how do you keep an open mind to that as the world is collapsing around you?
Yeah, and actually, I'm in Chicago. Is that what you mean? But
no, when you were at the Key, was it Key?
Oh, recently when I went to do a job in the Keys?
No, I'm talking about when you had the hotel.
Oh, at Key West. I'm sorry,
Key West. And then you go to the Courtyard in Washington. You're really hurting from the loss of your job at the Key West. So how do you keep that open mindset to be open to a position in Washington?
Well, it was all in Chicago. So just to line it up, it was all in Chicago. So Keelan Cove was in Chicago land area, and then Courtyard was Waukegan, and then I took the Marriott international job, which was across the country. I stayed in Chicago and I just traveled. But here's the ticket, and then again, I chose to leave this job that I literally would have done for free. If I was independently wealthy, you would not have to pay me a dime. I would have done that job for free. I worshiped Marriott. I worshiped the job I did. I loved it, and I still do. The reason why I chose to move on to my independent company and do this, because after writing the book, yes is the answer, my props, I started getting so many calls from so many people and different companies and loving the content, loving the energy, and wanting me to present and wanting me to help them. And I wanted to. And I had been thinking about it a long time, but I never would have left. Again, just like this quote, I never would have made that choice for myself. However, as I'm getting all of these calls, it started to become a little bit of a conflict of interest to do both. And I really wanted to help the world, not just one company or one brand. So I decided last year, I mean, I took so much, thinking through and pros and cons and all of that, because I was leaving this big job, big salary for a company I love and job I love. But I decided, I asked myself 3 questions. Let me think about if I remember those 3 questions. What would you do if you didn't get paid? 100%. What I'm doing. What would you do? What makes you come alive? 100% what I'm doing. And what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? I'm like, I wouldn't think about it. If I knew this was a guarantee, I'd jump.
Right.
So I just did it. I made my word for 2020 growth, and I lived up.
Let me say another thing. When Christine says she made the word for 2020, so one of Christine's big philosophies is having a word for the year. And I'll let her give you more details about that. But basically, it's a word going into a new year. And we're coming, unfortunately, people will see this probably Q2 of 2021, but we're recording this right as we're about to hit 2021. So kind of explain what your word of the year philosophy is and how it's helped you grow.
Okay. There's a book, and now I just packed up all my books because we're thinking about moving. But I'm trying to remember the name of the book. It's something The One. I'll give you a follow-up for that. And it's all about, if you focus on too many things, like if you try to catch 2 rabbits, you don't catch any, okay? So what they want you to focus on is one thing. What's your one thing? And then everything you do, if you can identify a word, then as you go through your year, like, for example, my word was growth. And as I'm trying to decide, should I do this or should I do that? Or is this impactful to what I'm doing? Will it give me growth? I always go back to my word. Will it give me growth? Will I get growth out of this? And then I know, okay, yes, it's contributing to my goal of growth. And so that's why if you just zero in on one word. What's that word going to be for you for the year? You can help it focus your attention throughout the year and be more productive. And I'm thinking about what my next word is going to be, and I think it
So
is.
tell me, how do you zero in on a word? Before you
Well,
tell us your word, how do you zero in on a word?
well, I just kind of last year, and again, I just kind of what comes naturally to me, or like what I'm thinking about, what I want in this next year. And last year, it really was to grow into this company on my own and do it and grow from it. So that was huge. And so I thought, I'm just going to make my word grow, and I'm going to do everything that will help me grow. I'm going to say yes to all of those things. And then this year, I really am thinking that next is my word. What is that? And it might not be that, but I'm thinking through it. I just keep thinking that, okay, next. I keep going back to that word. Like, all right, we went through 2020. The world fell out below our feet. What's next?
Okay.
What am I doing next? And it might be some of the same and still growing and all that. But next is some of the things I've learned this year. I'm going to start developing for that next.
I love that. I love that. I mean, and it makes a lot of sense, right? It's simplistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy. It's a long range goal. So it's not like you have to do it in a week or two. You have the whole year to really focus on that word and then drive your career. And right now, a lot of us are really in no man's land, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a great time as any to really think about that passion, think about what that word is going to be, and then focus everything you have on developing that word. It makes a lot of sense, especially for a time right now.
Right.
So,
and you know what? I have a whole list of words that when I was presenting certain workshops and whatnot, I talked about the word. And so I'll send that to you if you want to put it in your show links or something.
Please.
Maybe anybody out there might be thinking right now, what's my word for next year? Is it survival? Is it overcome? What is your word?
Is there any limitations to what the word can be?
Oh yeah, so many different ways you can interpret that word.
But I'm saying, is there any limitations? Could it be any? Is it any word you could do any word that relates to you?
I feel like there's no rules. What's your word? What's your vision for next year? You don't want to be negative. I would say that would be the rule.
Right, you don't want to be failure, but
failure. And you know what? That could be the word too, because I'll tell you what, I play things too safe sometimes, and I need to fail more.
I like that.
So you know what? There's a great TED Talk too. I'm going to find that TED Talk. You can put it in your link too.
Guys, Christine's giving us resources for days and days and days. You have to get the resources out earlier in the show.
Yes, I like to help people. So there's this great TED Talk about how this guy was too safe and didn't take as much risk and was afraid of failing, afraid of being rejected and all that. So he went out and did crazy things, like walked into the Burger King and said, "Can I get some fries on that? Can I get a refill on my burger?" And he just wanted to be rejected. He just wanted to fail over and over and over so that he could face, his fear on anything.
Right.
And it's a really great TED Talk.
Yes, I'd see it myself, and I'll definitely put it out there before the show.
Yeah.
So
okay. Perfect. So I'll send that to you. But that's the thing. That could even be it. It could even be failure. You know what? I'm going to put myself out there more and fail, because just like any baseball player, they'll hit maybe out of 2,000, they might hit 200.
Yeah. Well, listen, the old adage goes in baseball: if you hit 300, you're a Hall of Famer, and that means you failed 7 out of 10 times.
So you got the right stats.
I'm a big baseball guy. That's the one thing I'm good at is the baseball numbers. But Christine, so we're talking about stuff prior to COVID, but you go out and you go through all these different mental hurdles and gymnastics to decide, okay, I'm going to move forward with the wise pineapple. I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to grow. Mm-hmm. Never expecting COVID to happen. I mean, you really made this decision. I think you told me back in January or December of last year. So it's very close to obviously March of 2020. So as March happens, and let me tell you guys, Christine, even though she just had started her company full time in the sense of that was her one main mission, she had been developing this company prior while she was still working. And that's why she had to make the choice, because it was getting to a point. She had grown to a point where she couldn't reasonably do one or the other. Or sorry, she couldn't reasonably do both. She had to do one or the other because her time commitments, because her commitments to her company were being pulled apart. So she chose to bet on herself, which I think a lot of people can respect, and make that decision. And then March happens, and all of your speaking engagements, Christine and the Wise Pineapple, a big part of Christine's business is going to hotels and leading trainings and having these energetic sessions to motivate people. And then there are no people. There is no travel. There's no money for people to bring you in. What's going through your head now? Was that worse than the job losses previously? Was this something that took you on worse, or is it kind of the same? How are you feeling?
Shockingly, it didn't hurt me inside as much as the other two, because the other two felt like I had no control over it, which I didn't have control over this, but it was a company saying, we don't want you anymore. And not that they didn't want me, but they couldn't have me, or it was over. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was a separation, and it felt so personal. Now, this was my company, and I just realized that the business overnight was gone.
Right.
So it didn't feel as personal to me. And I also knew that the world was with me. So I kind of felt, it hurt terribly, but it didn't hurt like the other two did.
Okay.
Those really hurt inside. So, it was, I decided to go all in. I did it, and things were just coming. I was booked up till August. I was like, I can't believe that this is happening. It's working, and I'm serving all these different companies, and people are loving it. And it was so amazing. And then, like you said, I flew home on March 10th. It was my last keynote presentation for a general manager conference, and that was for McNeil Hotels. And literally the next day, everybody started calling to cancel, because in that next week, I had lost all of my business, absolutely everything. And I was on track to at that point, to double my salary. Yeah. I don't know if it would have lasted or not, but I was pacing my bookings, because that's how I was measuring my success. I would replace my salary, and my stretch goal was to double my salary. And it wasn't about salary, but that's just how I could measure something.
Right,
yeah. So it was overnight. The floor literally came out for me. But when I was asking myself, here's another kind of caveat to this, that when I was asking myself those three questions, what makes you come alive? What would you do for free? And what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? That question, I said, you know what? Now is the time. I am 50 years old. And when am I going to do it if not now? Okay, I've got the book, I've got the reputation, the notoriety. Now's the time. And if it doesn't work, in a year, I'll just go back into a hotel and get a job.
That's so fast.
That was my safety net, Okay, so then the world falls apart, and now there's not even any jobs to have.
Right, your safety net got pulled away real quick. Real quick.
And I'm sure I could have found one, but I decided, no, I'm going to give it, so the year. I'm going to see what I can do virtually. I'm going to see what I can do with coaching. And my husband was still working. So we just, cut down our expenses and lived more humbly. And being in quarantine half the year was pretty easy. So that's what I've just been doing. And things are coming back. I'm working with many different companies. And here is something that grew out of all this tragedy that I wasn't even thinking of as an opportunity, all this virtual stuff. So as I'm working with, just communicating with McNeil hotel companies, they loved my presentation. They wanted to partner with me more. And Mark Ricketts, the CEO of the company, sends me his newsletter every month. And I saw all these new hires. They've fared very well through this pandemic. That's and I saw all these new hires, and I said, Mark, could you imagine if we onboarded all of your new hires with the Yes is the Answer training virtually every month? Could you imagine what that's going to do for your whole portfolio, to teach people this and to give them this higher perspective and purpose? And he's like, I love it. So we are starting to do that. And on top of that, he's like, I also would love for you to develop an orientation, welcome to McNeil Hotels, and tell each new hire what it means to be McNeil, all of that stuff. So now I do that every week. All their new hires across the country join me, and I share the awesomeness of McNeil Hotels.
And that now, do you think that would have happened if COVID hadn't happened?
I do not think it would have. I don't think that would have ever come into I never dreamed of doing my Yes is the Answer virtually. And just all the virtual things came to light of what the possibilities are when one door closes. Look at what teachers have done. And look at so many of our hospitality people, our whole lives. And I know it. As much as I love what I do, I know I've always thought, what else can I do? When you guys are out there going, is there any job I could have that doesn't require weekends, holidays? All those
15-hour shifts, overnight.
all said it. What else can we do? But we never leave the industry because it's what we know. But now people have been kind of forced to do it. And now they're bringing their passion for hospitality to banking, to senior homes, to healthcare.
Yep.
And they are doing real estate.
Yep.
And they're doing it. And just like that quote, it might be a path they never would have chosen for themselves, but they've learned, they've grown, they've trusted, and look what's happening.
I mean, again, you are really the epitome of positive energy, as I've said many times on the show, but that's what gets you to where you've gotten, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you had just said, well, damn, I tried and this COVID ruined it for me and this is over, none of this would have continued to happen. And you've found the opportunity in the disaster, right? For it's not a pineapple, but you made the lemonade out of lemons. And now you have a standing gig with an established company that you never would have had if COVID never happened. It's the same way that you have a position right now, a company right now that never would have happened if you didn't get laid off from your dream job back in 2008.
None of it would happen.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, and now on top of that, now McNeil's hiring me to go visit each one of their properties to do GSS deep dives. So we're doing that, and we're doing it now.
All because of COVID.
Yeah, but
all from COVID.
All from COVID. And there's so many COVID things I'm helping them with too. So, you know, of service and hospitality and whatnot. So it's so great. So, and on top of that, guess what? Next month, I'm going to do an in-person live keynote for Solera Hotels.
We're traveling. You're back on the road. So
yes, and I just went to Key West to do a consultation deep dive there, and Yes is the Answer training. So I am out on the road. If you are ready for me, I am ready for you. And it's coming back. We're all going to get back there. It's going to take time, but there are hospitality jobs out there. I post them all the time on my LinkedIn and on my Facebook. There's other industries that are welcoming us. Mm-hmm. So there are so many opportunities out there. And I know I'm not trying to make it sound like it's easy because I know it's tough, but they're there and we need to be open to those things. And you asked me a couple of times, how do I do it? I've had those days where I'm like, well, it's over. My company's over. I just got to start looking for a job. I've been there. I've had those hard days. However, I get up the next morning and I think about what I'm going to act on. Here is the real, I guess, secret, honestly, to anything. It's action. If you have a problem and it can be solved by action, then you do not have a problem. It is all about taking action. And I always like to use the example of being a Viking versus a victim. I could sit up and go, oh, well, my company's over because of COVID or la, la, and all these things that are out of my control. And now I'm just a victim and I'm just going to just wallow in my pity party. However, if you get up every day and go, what can I do today to move me forward? And you write these things down and you might have a vision at the end that let's just use weight loss as an example, because it's a real easy analogy to give an example. Let's just say I want to lose 15 pounds, which I would always welcome. I want to lose 15 pounds. If I focus on, well, it's so hard to diet and travel, or I'm Italian, so it's so hard for me to stay thin. If I focus on those non-controllables, then I'm just a victim. But if I say, what can I do? I can write down everything I eat. I can stay in a 1,500 calorie or 1,200 calories. I can exercise for 30 minutes every day. Now I know how I can win today, because we're not going to wake up tomorrow and be 15 pounds lighter. So having that far away vision sometimes can get away from us because it's too far away.
Right.
You need to know, how do you win every day? I will do these 3 things. And by acting, you're going to energize yourself to get out of that slump of victimhood.
Right.
Action is how you solve those problems. And now everybody's going to, in their time or two in their life, they're going to have their pity party and whatnot. And that's okay. Have it and get out of it. Get back to action. What can I do today? What's in my control?
I love that. I love that. And listen, yes, Christine's here and she's talking about her successful company and she's had a very successful career, but all of these concepts translate down to whatever position you are within your career, whether you be mid-level manager, whether you be entry-level, just got into housekeeping or front desk or F&B, all of these principles translate extremely well, regardless if you have your own company or not. So take these tips, take these traits, tailor them to your situation, and you'll get a lot of benefit out of them. So, Christine, we're out of time here, but I want to give you a chance to let us know where we can find you. Where can we find the Wise Pineapple? Because listen, anybody out there, again, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling sluggish, just connect with Christine and you won't feel it much longer. So, Christine, where can we get you?
Yes. Well, my website is thewisepineapple.com. You can visit me there. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook. I also have a private hospitality group page on Facebook that if you are a hospitalier, you're more than welcome to join us. It's the Wise Pineapple on Facebook. So take a look for that. The book you can get on Amazon, or if you want to email me, I'll sign it for you and send you a copy. And it's Yes is the Answer. One thing that I'm doing right now is, if you are going to do a leadership book club, if you order 5 or more books, I will also set up a Zoom call with you and help you pull through the big ideas in the book. So that could be really fun for your team. So that's something to think about, and you could reach out to me as well. But I've been doing coaching, virtual and in-person training, keynotes, and of course, training classes and consulting to help you become an award-winning hotel as well.
Love it, love it, love it. Christine, one of the best people I've ever met in the industry. Even though we've had to actually meet in person, it has to happen one day. So, Christine, thank you so much for your time today. I hope everybody got a lot. I'm sure people got a lot out of this conversation. I think we will have to have you back on sometime because there's so much more we can dive into. And we just literally don't have enough time because you just bring so much energy and so much positivity and so much great insight and experience. So, Christine, thank you so much for being my guest today, and looking forward to staying in contact with you on our personal level.
Absolutely, David. And you are the bomb.com. I have loved every minute of our friendship. Thank you so much for being in my life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I mean, listen, guys, no matter what's going on in your life, if you can try to have that same mindset as Christine, you can definitely get through. I mean, look, I came in this with a crazy allergy reaction. Now it's gone. My hair's not staying put. What am I going to do? Well, we keep powering forward. Positivity. Let Christine's energy, let Christine's mindset bring you forward. Because listen, yes, I make jokes about these 2 things, but we're all going through a lot more stuff than that, right? Everybody's going through a lot of stuff. I'm going through a lot of stuff. Christine's going through a lot of stuff. It all goes back to that theme of mindset, which we've had over many, many shows now. What's your mindset? How are you going to attack what's going on? And if you have the proper mindset, if you can try to push through, even understanding you're going to have the bad days, you're going to have the days that you're down. But if the next day you wake up and you get back on the horse and you keep moving forward, those baby steps will turn, those small gains will turn to large gains over time. So thank you all for being my guest today. Again, thank you to Christine Trippi. Check her out. Yes is the Answer is the great book. The Wise Pineapple is the great company. Just so many great things coming out of Christine's world. So definitely connect with her. Get involved because there's a lot of growth that you will find there. Word of the year for Christine, growth. And now the question is, what is going to be next for her, next for me, next for you? That's probably the 2021 word for Christine. So thanks again for joining us. And we'll see you next week with another great episode.